Okay, guys, back at you with Coin and Coney. So let's get into the analysis here. Um, we're not completely capped, but it kind of is behaving like that. We clearly went from having a big win in our weekly to being behind, but we've got some upside. So let me give you the good and bad as we go. So coin took off 257, and that's 10.5%. We limped along at 3.26, but I think any of the Coney owners are happy. We'll be happier when it's $20 or higher. So no trades were put on. So let me take you through. Um, these are at 275, at least that, yeah. So I don't know why they're showing. First off, they don't have a close price. That's weird. Let me clear this stuff out. Maybe I was doing a guesstimate here. Um, and these are 275, so that gives me, that's probably what the old guys were. Um, okay, so we certainly have more upside. Um, let me see something on payments. So 69 through 57. All right, well, let me just do it from here for a minute. So where we are, let's look at our weekly. So all 30,800 are at 275. So we're 6.68% away from those on the weeklies. Our synthetics are positioned well because excuse me, we just went into the money. So we get all upside every time we move above 250. So the scenario is we've got room to run 17 points, right? So if we go from 258 to 275, we end up not losing anything at all on these strikes. And 18 on the synthetic, right? When we go look at those guys, um, we get completely bailed out. Now, this is still showing the 230, but I want to look at the 250. Okay, this is where it gets better. These haven't had any trades for a couple of days, but that's why the numbers are off. But I want to show you this, how we can still do well. Because if I just tell you where we are, it doesn't explain what happens this week and how we can win, even if we get close to getting capped. All right. So in this mode, this is the active strike. Okay, so we have a 7.3 million loss when we were right when we wrote these contracts back on 7/17. Okay, but now that we're above 250, and I think we were then, but close, we were right around 250. So, you know, sometimes the call is slightly above the put. Um, but that's banked money, so that was considered a banked loss. Now we're in a situation where these have value. So now let me go over here to holdings, and this will dial it all up, and I can run you through the scenarios. So here we are with this 275, and we're now 44% below what we captured, right? Oh, hang on. That should, did we collect six? No, 6.075 is where it's at. Okay, that, sorry guys, I'm trying to get this dialed up. So we collected 13 million. And just up until yesterday, when it ran so high up the 10%, even though we had a full week to go, we wrote these on Wednesday, right? So we were ahead of the game. We could have bought them back for 11 million, but with this big upsurge, we flipped up. But now we have a 18 million, 18.7 on 13 that we'd have to buy it back. But when you look at this, a lot of this is time premium also because we're only at 257, almost 258. So it can go $17 and this wouldn't have any value. So not only is 6 all time premium, right? So I'm trying to take you through because I think this week with the, even a bilateral doesn't matter. Let's see what the Dems say about Bitcoin. Do they try and appeal to the constituent base so that they look good also? Because the Trump campaign has already swung over there, a week or two ago, not even knowing for sure that he was going to get the nomination, but it looked good. But with all the geopolitical, the assassination. So it's looking stronger for the Trump camp. Trump's going to be speaking. I talked all about this in Coney, in YBit, and a little bit in MSTR. So I'm trying to give you guys a good scenario here, regardless of which side talks up. But we know that Trump is scheduled to speak at the world's largest Bitcoin conference, either Friday or Saturday of this week. Well, we expire on our weeklies on Friday. So I need to pull it up. I have the agenda somewhere. And the rumors are that he's going to talk about a strategic reserve involving the treasuries and putting gold or other commodities along with Bitcoin. Now that doesn't mean they go out and fully base the dollar on Bitcoin and gold, but they want to shore up the dollar. They want to shore up the treasuries because mostly the US is buying that debt now. It used to be China, it used to be a lot of other countries. China's since sold 70% of all their treasuries and aren't really purchasing them. So we want the dollar to stay strong. So certainly the politicians see this. They see the opportunity to get votes by talking up Bitcoin. Um, there was a stat, I don't know whether it's true or not, but I was listening to somebody be interviewed on Kitco, and they were talking that there are more households that own some Bitcoin than there are households that have dogs. And I was like, really? I know a lot of households have cats, but that's an interesting stat if it was true. But certainly you're going to pull in a lot of voters, right? There's a lot of distrust in fiat and in paper dollars that it loses value. And I know Michael Saylor's already had a conference where he's been talking to CEOs, and I know Michael Dell of Dell Technologies expressed some interest in doing some. I don't think many are going to go out and put all their treasuries in Bitcoin, but certainly they're saying, yeah, you really don't make money on the treasuries. You're fighting a nominal, right? If you've got a, stated 3% inflation rate and you're getting 3% on your treasuries, but the inflation rate is really 6 or 7 or 8. Those of you that are paying property taxes, those of you paying automobile insurance, all food, all these other things say, wait a minute, it's not 3%. Healthcare, it's more like 7 to 10%, the real impact, fuel, energy. So when you're getting 3 or 4% on your treasuries, then you're really losing 5 or 6% every year. So that's why these hard assets are starting to be appreciated that at least keep up with inflation. And if you look at Bitcoin, clearly it's done that. Gold's done that over long periods of time. If you measure gold and how much gold does it take to buy a house at so many ounces, right? The average median house. If you want a custom suit made, how many ounces of gold does it take? And you look historically, and all those kinds of stores of value typically follow a cycle. So they do keep up with inflation. And paper money typically just erodes. So, without getting it further, that could really pump up Bitcoin. You saw it heading into the weekend. This thing could really run. It's going to impact YBIT, it's going to impact MSTR, it's going to impact coin. So, I try to look, even if it wasn't the case, I try and look at the bullish and say, how can we win on this scenario? So, let me get into it. So, say we run just the 275 and we win our weeklies, okay? What happens then? Well, we keep this 13 million, we don't have anything, and this number likely goes to 85 to 90, right? So your synthetic is going to soar. This is initially, it depends on when it does, it's going to soar, but at the end of the day, if it comes in at 275, they buy it back for 2 or 3 or 4 cents. And so you keep 98, 99% of your 13 million instead of having to buy it at 18, and your 26 here runs to call it 90. That's 64 more million, okay? And we need that. We really need that for our payout. So that can happen. Now, if we run to, 300, then we're going to have a 15-point buyback, right? You're going to be just the math. 300 would be 25. And at 25, you're going to put this other number over here at 300. This is going to be, all of a sudden they go even at that point. All the money above 275 on both sides break even. But getting up to 275 only, we win, right? This number goes to 90 and this number stays at close to 13. So that's what I was trying to explain. Long as you stay underneath this, it doesn't really harm you. When you go over it, you're basically eating all of the gain because your synthetic is gaining the entire time. So go look at this synthetic, right? We went from a 48 million loss to a 25 million gain by going up 10% on Bitcoin, right? Essentially, I know it's coin, but it's Bitcoin, almost 11%. We went up 24 points. So it's a lot more than a million per point. So let's jump over and take a look. So holdings told us a fair amount. It told us everything, right? Um, and with these visuals and me talking, I think it's easier to see how it can pay. So let's just go straight to payments now. So here we are with 72-cent loss. So if all of a sudden this guy becomes massive, right? And we plug another 90 million, well, another 90 million, right, is we now have a 25 million gain, but the weeklies are at a loss, but they're not really at a loss. They're at a time premium loss. They'll be at a loss if they go much, much above 275. But then this number will be astronomical. So I'm seeing a couple dollars in here. We can easily get our 150 if we run to 275 or higher. We start gaining every day when we move up on 275. And it doesn't matter if we go a little bit over it because getting to it helps us. And then they both start being kind of even after that. So that's what I got for you. There's opportunity. I'm optimistic. I don't know where this thing could go. I also said in MSTR and Misty review and YBIT, this could be buy the rumor, sell the news. But I'm thinking even if Trump speaks and starts saying, look, he'd have to get elected. But if he comes in there and says, I plan to shore up the dollar and use Bitcoin, he's going to get Bitcoin. He's going to grab votes that were undecided. But then if I'm the Democratic Party and I want to win back that, it's looking like they're going to push Biden out. Let's see. So if they bring on new people and the RNC has all of it, if I'm them, I go out and say something positive about Bitcoin. I don't want one side to gain traction without me trying to counter that. So I'm not getting into, a candidate aside. I'm just telling you, when you're in an election year, that's what happens. And I see Bitcoin being played here tremendously. Um, and so we have an opportunity to benefit, by being long these things. This is the perfect case where the income fund can't really keep up. If this thing flies up to 325, we're still gonna, have $1.50 or $2, but it's not like if we were in the underlying. If you were a coin owner and you made 80%, you're going to get 15 or 20% in coin appreciation and NAV increase. You're going to get a good yield, don't get me wrong. And right now, as a holder, I'm not selling my coin. I own a lot more Misty, luckily, but I'm not selling my coin. So I'm all for you guys that are coin holders and the rest. So that's what I got for you. I just wanted to explain this on some what ifs in the coming week, because I can sit here till the cows come home and tell you, what it is right now. And I haven't told you anything, but if I can explain to you how we might get there at $1.50 or $2, and what that does, because it's looking like Bitcoin's going to want to run and could run 10, 15, 20, 25% this week. Let's see. Okay, guys, that's what I got. It's not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. Have a great rest of your weekend, whatever the weekend has in store for you. All right, Bruce out. Bye.